It began innocuously enough, a curious transmission intercepted by the Galactic Dominion's monitoring satellites. At first, the Dominion dismissed it as trivial. A quaint video from a backwater planet, Earth, showing a fluffy creature, a cat, chasing a mouse. The transmission's uploader, a human named Jake Marshall, narrated the video in an offhand tone, humorously describing the feline as a tiny apex predator with murder mittens. But as the video continued, showing the cat stalking its prey with unnerving precision, the laughter in the Dominion's command center began to fade. Is this a joke? General Orlan Corr, commander of the Dominion fleet, asked aloud. His voice was laced with annoyance as the human's transmission flickered on the screen. What is this supposed to mean? A pet cat? No, sir. Dr. Ilara Jax, the Dominion's chief ctenobiologist, replied. Her eyes were fixed on the screen, scanning the cat's movements with an intensity that surprised even her colleagues. This is not normal behavior. That animal, despite its small size, displays characteristics of a highly effective predator: speed, coordination, and most notably, an almost preternatural awareness of its environment. Corr raised an eyebrow. Are you saying this? Cat is dangerous. Dr. Jax turned to face the commander, her face grim. I'm saying it's a perfect predator. Look at its movements, the way it anticipates its prey's escape routes, the precision with which it strikes, and the stealth. It's like a killing machine designed by evolution itself. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Could this be some sort of engineered weapon? Corr asked. Jax nodded slowly, her mind racing. Possibly. But what's even more unsettling is the fact that Earth has millions of these creatures. The video ended. The Dominion's intelligence division scrambled to track down more footage. Soon, it wasn't just one cat they were observing. It was a planet full of them. A planet full of tiny, seemingly harmless predators capable of orchestrating the mass slaughter of anything they chose. And Earth was unaware. The Dominion had no idea what they were truly walking into. As the Dominion's intelligence network dug deeper into Earth's ecosystem, it became increasingly clear. The cats weren't an anomaly, they were the rule. They weren't just cute companions for humans, they were hyper-efficient hunters, honed by centuries of evolution into creatures capable of decimating entire populations of smaller prey. But what unnerved Dr. Ilara Jax most wasn't just their lethal prowess, it was the scale of it. In a series of classified reports, the Dominion's scouting teams recorded shocking statistics. On Earth, there were estimated to be more than 100 million domesticated cats, each one of them an apex predator in its own right. They moved in coordinated groups, hunting not just for food, but for sport, and in ways that defied the understanding of the Dominion's own elite warriors. I've never seen anything like this, Dr. Jax admitted, her voice tinged with awe and fear as she pored over the data. Their biology, it's like they've been engineered for the sole purpose of hunting and killing. They're not just animals, they're predators in disguise. General Corr leaned in, eyes narrowing. You're telling me that every single one of these creatures is a threat? Not all of them know, Jax said, but her voice lacked conviction. But enough of them are, and when they're together, when they hunt, there's an uncanny sense of coordination. They can stalk, ambush, and take down prey that outweighs them by orders of magnitude. Corr's face darkened. The Dominion had encountered powerful species before, but never anything like this. They had conquered worlds where even the most aggressive creatures could be subdued with advanced technology, but cats? Cats were a different kind of enemy, one that couldn't be outgunned or outclassed. The humans, "They must know about this," Kor muttered. But Jax shook her head. "No, Commander. They see them as pets. They have no idea what's coming." Kor stood up, turning to face the vast star maps on the wall of his war room. "That's going to change. Prepare the fleet. We take Earth before they realize what they've unleashed." The plan was simple. An overwhelming invasion to crush this insignificant planet, but the seeds of doubt were already planted. If Earth's cats could cause this much concern from a distance, what would they do up close? The Dominion fleet arrived in Earth's orbit without resistance. Their warships, sleek and menacing, blotted out the stars. On the ground, however, humanity had no idea what was coming. Cities continued to hum with life, cars on the streets, people bustling in shops, children laughing in parks. The humans were completely oblivious to the imminent invasion. But the cats, Earth's murder mittens, were not. As the Dominion's first wave of shock troops descended upon Earth's surface, something unexpected happened. A squadron of armoured soldiers dropped into a quiet suburb in North America, expecting to subdue the local population with ease. They stepped out of their transport pods, confident in their advanced weaponry, their energy shields, and their reinforced armour. But the first thing they heard was the faintest sound, the softest clicking of claws on pavement. Before they could react, a blur of fur and speed exploded from the shadows. A small tabby, its eyes gleaming with a predator's focus, launched itself directly at one of the soldiers. The feline's claws ripped through the reinforced helmet like tissue paper. A second cat, a sleek black and white, dove between the legs of another soldier, its sharp claws raking across the tech-heavy joints of the soldier's armour. The Dominion warrior howled in pain as his suit malfunctioned, electricity crackling from exposed circuits. Chaos erupted. The soldiers, caught off guard, attempted to retaliate, but the cats were everywhere. There was no time to react as they scaled walls, darted across rooftops, and attacked with precision. The Dominion's soldiers, usually so composed, found themselves overwhelmed by the ferocity of these small, seemingly insignificant creatures. Sergeant Ethan Cole, part of a human military unit stationed in the area, watched in stunned silence as his team tried to regroup. He'd had trained for years to face alien invaders, but this was something else. The cats didn't just fight, they flanked and outsmarted them. It was as if they were anticipating every move, every decision the soldiers made. Are they controlling them? Cole whispered into his comms, but no one could answer. The cats weren't being controlled. They were the control. The humans were learning fast. When it came to this fight, they weren't the only ones with weapons. The first few hours of the invasion were a blur of confusion and terror. Dominion forces, expecting to sweep across Earth's cities like a tide, found themselves stymied at every turn by attacks they couldn't understand. Their advanced weaponry was ineffective against the relentless, precision strikes of Earth's murder mittens. The cats weren't just killing, they were disrupting the Dominion's military operations. Security systems were hacked by a small, stealthy group of felines. Drones were disabled by precise claw swipes that rendered their complex circuitry useless. And supplies were raided, leaving Dominion troops in disarray. Sergeant Ethan Cole, who had witnessed the cat's bizarre and terrifying efficiency firsthand, knew one thing. If they were going to survive this, humans couldn't just fight with the cats. They had to fight like them. He was the first to suggest an alliance. It started with small, coordinated attacks. Humans would provide the firepower, and the cats would do what they did best: outmaneuver, outthink, and outflank the enemy. The plan was unconventional, almost absurd, but the results were undeniable. It wasn't long before Sarah Mitchell, a seasoned officer with the United Earth Defense Force, saw the potential of Cole's idea. "I don't know what's going on, but I'm not leaving without those damn cats," Mitchell muttered as she surveyed the battlefield, watching a tabby cat tear through the underbrush, its eyes locked on a group of Dominion soldiers. With lightning speed it pounced, slashing at their legs and disarming them before darting away into the shadows. Mitchell's squad, already in position nearby, launched their attack just as the Dominion forces tried to regroup. Their heavy weapons mowed down a few stragglers, but it was the cats that threw the real punch. Their lightning-fast ambushes left the Dominion troops vulnerable as they tried to defend themselves against a threat they couldn't anticipate. "We're gonna need more than bullets," Mitchell said as she watched the chaos unfold. "We're gonna need these little guys to turn the tide. They know how to fight, and now, so did we." With each success, the humans began to understand. They weren't just allies with the cats. They were partners, a deadly unpredictable team. And together, they would bring the fight to the heart of the Dominion's war machine. The Dominion's leadership had underestimated Earth's ability to resist. But as the days passed, their once confident commanders found themselves trapped in a nightmare they couldn't understand. Reports flooded in from all fronts, and each one was worse than the last. Their soldiers, trained to handle hostile species across the galaxy, were being torn apart by Earth's smallest and most unassuming residents, cats. General Orlan Kor sat in his command center, a dark circle of stress under his eyes, watching the latest battlefield footage with growing disbelief. On the screens, his most elite soldiers, cyborgs enhanced with artificial intelligence and genetically modified for peak combat performance, were being overwhelmed by waves of house cats. The felines, with their sharpened instincts and near superhuman agility, attacked from all angles, exploiting every weakness in the Dominion's formidable armor. "Report," Kor barked, slamming his fist onto the table. His lead strategist, an insectoid scyther named Cull, spoke in a low, eerie voice. "Sir, our forces have been ambushed. The cats, they are smarter than we anticipated. They are evading our sensors, countering our tactics, and killing in ways we cannot predict. The death toll is rising. We've lost entire units." Kor's face twisted with frustration. He had seen the footage of Earth's cats, yes, but in his arrogance, he'd dismissed them as insignificant. Now, it seemed the cats were more than a curiosity. They were a threat that could tear apart the heart of his invasion. "How?" Kor demanded. "How are they doing this?" "They don't have our technology, they don't have our weapons. How can cats, domestic pets, cause this much havoc?" Cull paused, clicking his mandibles in thought. "It's not the cats themselves, General. It's the humans. They've begun coordinating with the creatures. Humans have adapted their tactics. They understand how to use the cats to outflank us." The realization hit Kor like a blow to the gut. The humans were adapting, evolving alongside their murder mittens. This wasn't just an invasion anymore. It was a war of wits. And Earth's people were proving to be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Kor stood, his hands trembling with fury. "No more delays. We crush them now, before they can evolve further. Deploy everything." But even as he spoke, he knew something was shifting. The Dominion's superiority was no longer guaranteed. The cats, and the humans, were proving to be more than a nuisance. They were the beginning of something far worse, an unstoppable force. The Dominion's resolve was crumbling, but they were too entrenched in their pride to admit defeat. General Kor's desperation deepened as their forces, now spread thin across Earth, were methodically dismantled by the combined efforts of the humans and their deadly allies. The battle had shifted in favor of the defenders, and Earth was proving to be a far tougher nut to crack than Core had anticipated. In a last-ditch effort to break the humans' morale and end the war swiftly, Core authorized the deployment of their most destructive weapon, the orbital annihilation cannons. These gargantuan, space-based weapons had the power to reduce entire cities to ash with a single strike. They were designed for one purpose: total annihilation. Core believed that by destroying Earth's major population centers, he could crush the will of the humans and force them into submission. He had no idea how badly he was underestimating his enemy. The first bombardment struck without warning. A streak of light cut through the sky, followed by the deafening rumble of an explosion that shook the ground. Entire city blocks in New York, Tokyo, and Paris vanished in a flash of fire and debris. The Dominion had chosen their targets carefully, aiming to hit the heart of human civilization, hoping to break the spirit of the planet. But Earth's response was not one of despair, it was one of rage. Sarah Mitchell, who had been coordinating ground resistance with her team, watched the explosions from a makeshift command post. Her heart sank as she saw entire skylines disintegrate, but she didn't have time to grieve. The war was far from over. As the Dominion prepared for the next wave of orbital strikes, she turned to her most trusted ally, Whiskers, the tabby cat who had fought beside her from the very beginning. "Whiskers, we need to hit them hard," Mitchell muttered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The cat, with its keen eyes and razor-sharp instincts, stared up at her, as if understanding every word. In a flash of inspiration, Mitchell realized that the very thing the Dominion was relying on, its orbital bombardment, was now a potential weakness. The cats, ever vigilant, could be their eyes on the ground. And with their agility, they could infiltrate the Dominion's control network. "Get to the satellites, now," Mitchell said into their comms. "We have one shot at this." As Earth burned, the humans and their feline partners made their move. The final strike was coming, but it was no longer in the hands of the Dominion. It was Earth's turn to hit back. The clock was ticking. Dominion forces, still reeling from the first wave of orbital bombardments, were desperately regrouping, hoping to land a final blow on Earth. The second round of bombardment was imminent, but General Core had not counted on Earth's response, especially not on the sheer audacity of the Human-Cat Alliance. While the sky burned above, Sarah Mitchell's team, along with an army of Earth's finest felines, began their most daring mission yet. Whiskers, her ever-loyal tabby, led a crack squad of cats into the heart of the Dominion's satellite relay station. With their keen senses and stealth, the cats moved undetected, slipping through cracks, sliding along cables and scaling walls. They were Earth's eyes and ears in the final desperate gambit. "We're in position," Mitchell's voice came over the comms, her tone low but resolute. "Cat team, disable the uplink. We've got one shot at this." The relay station, nestled deep in the mountains, was a fortress of steel and technology. The Dominion had invested vast resources into its defense, expecting any attack to be repelled by sheer firepower. But nothing could prepare them for the silent, deadly assault of Earth's murder mittens. The cats infiltrated the station like ghosts, disabling the guards and triggering security alarms without making a sound. Their claws sliced through the power grid with surgical precision, and the Dominion's last line of defense, their satellite network, began to fail. At the same time, Mitchell's forces launched a coordinated attack on the Dominion's ground forces. With their orbital support neutralized, the Dominion soldiers were left vulnerable and exposed. They had no reinforcements, no heavy artillery, and no way to defend against the relentless guerrilla warfare tactics of the humans and their feline partners. Each cat strike crippled a unit, each human strike took out a command post. Despite their superior technology, the Dominion found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't predict. Earth's survival wasn't just due to brute force, it was the cunning coordination and sheer unpredictability of humans and cats working together that had proven so devastating. As the last of the Dominion's orbital cannons fell silent, Core's forces began their retreat. Earth had held, but the victory came at a cost. The skies were scorched, cities lay in ruins, and thousands of lives had been lost. Sarah Mitchell stood amidst the wreckage, the final embers of battle flickering out as Whiskers nuzzled her side. They had won, but they had also learned a hard truth. Victory in war always carries a heavy price. The battle for Earth was over, but the war for the galaxy had just begun. The Dominion's retreat was swift, but it left behind the heavy toll of a war that had been both brutally fought and unexpectedly won. Earth, scarred by fire and rubble, began the long process of recovery. The cities that had been reduced to ashes still smouldered, and the loss of life was staggering. Yet, through the devastation, something far more dangerous than the Dominion could have ever imagined had emerged. Earth's true potential, its unexpected power, and its capacity to fight back. Sarah Mitchell stood on the steps of a rebuilt command center, overlooking the remains of a shattered city. In the distance, the sun set over the ruins of New York, casting a long shadow across what was once a bustling metropolis. Beside her, Whiskers, the tabby that had fought beside her every step of the way, sat with his tail curled contentedly around his paws, as if the battle had been nothing more than a particularly taxing game of cat and mouse. A low hum in the air signaled the approach of new Earth leaders, scientists, military commanders, and civilians, gathering to discuss how to move forward. Mitchell had been instrumental in organizing the resistance, but she knew that rebuilding was going to be just as much of a fight as the war itself. "We won, Lieutenant," Dr. Alex Carter, one of the lead scientists in the effort to decode the Dominion's technology, said quietly as he joined her on the steps. "But we've set something in motion. The galaxy will not forget this." Mitchell nodded, her expression grim. "I don't think they'll ever forget." Across the stars, whispers had already begun. The Dominion's losses were spreading like wildfire. Earth, a seemingly insignificant planet in a backwater corner of the galaxy, had single-handedly forced one of the most powerful empires to its knees. But it wasn't just the Dominion that feared Earth now. Every other power in the galaxy had learned a crucial lesson. Never underestimate a species whose pets could wage war. The galaxy would watch Earth carefully in the years to come, unsure whether this world of humans and murder mittens was a threat to be destroyed or an ally to be courted. One thing was certain: Earth had changed, and with that change came a new era, an era where the tiniest of creatures could strike fear into the hearts of empires, and where even the most primitive species could rise to challenge the stars. Earth's victory wasn't just about survival, it was about legacy, and as long as Whiskers, and countless others like him, were by their side, Earth would never be weak again.